as the Cerec software has improved and the camera has improved also, we're able to use the characteristics of the new camera, especially the increased focal length and the increased capabilities of the software, to restore more complicated implant cases. This will be a case that we are restoring 2 implants, and we'll be using a posterior overlay to help with the proportion. Originally, we're going to just do this as a green arrow restoration case. We will go and trim the antagonist, define the margins, allow the proposal to be rendered, use quadrant function to virtually seat the first proposal, and then design the second proposal. I'm not spending any time modifying the proposal as rendered by the software. Unfortunately for software, when the margin of your preparation is more than 1 millimeter or 2 from the adjacent teeth, it will cause a skewed proposal. In this case, since it's just a green arrow case, we did the premolar, we rendered the molar. You can see how the contacts are all skewed, and the mesial distal width of the molar is not much greater than the mesial distal width of the premolar. I'm going to redo the case in which we're going to use the assistance of the posterior overlay. We render our proposal. You can see our mesial marginal ridge is open. To try to get the mesial distal width of the premolar, we're going to be resizing the virtual model by using the zoom function. And we know that the second premolar is approximately the same width as the mandibular first premolar. We resize the virtual model, place the posterior overlay, and will give us our references for the mesial and distal width. We're able to manipulate the virtual model with the left mouse button, and using the trackball, we can rotate it around a central point. By using the right mouse button and using the trackball, we can move the virtual model in its entirety from side to side, so we can align it with the posterior overlay. By using the scale tool, if we click on the bottom line and then the space bar, we're able to highlight the whole restoration. We can hit larger or smaller, or I find it easier if we go back to the construction lines, in which we can do larger and smaller for the mesial distal. We can position the construction lines, change the angulation by using the arrows at the top of the buccal view of the posterior overlay. It gives an indication of where we want our cusp tip to be, and also how our marginal ridges should be. Also, we're able to gather how the inclination of the two should be. That helps us set up the curve of SPI. Since this is an implant case, it's not exactly in the right position, so we do have to skew a few things to get it to work the way we want it to be. After we have manipulated the construction lines to our satisfaction, we hit the green arrow, we will get our proposal back. We can fine-tune it with our tools in order to get to where we want to be. Once we have the proposal and the position, the angulation, the contacts, the way we want it, we take our left mouse button and rotate with the trackball so we get the occlusal view of the restoration. Once we have the model oriented the way we want it, and by using the right mouse button and the trackball, we can bring the model down to our second set of reference lines. The second set will give us an indication on if our buccal lingual dimensions are proper, if our buccal extent of the restoration is in line with the others, and the second line from the bottom gives an indication of where our cusp tip should be. All these are going to give us the proper proportion restoration. We're able to fine-tune our proposal with the tools available to us in the lower right-hand corner. You can use a tool that is your favorite. I like the form tools, plus, minus, and smooth. Once we're happy with the proposal, we'll go ahead and do a virtual seat and begin the construction of the second proposal, number 19 in this case. The initial proposal is rendered. We will rotate the model, reapply the overlay, so we can work on our mesiodistal length to get everything in proportion. We're able to resize the virtual model with the zoom plus, zoom minus to get the virtual model to fit to the overlay. By using the left trackball button and the trackball, we're able to change the pitch and the yaw of the virtual model. By using the right trackball button and the trackball, we're able to move the virtual model in its entirety. Through the use of the scale tool, position, rotate, we move the proposal into a position where we want it. You can see how if you bring it up to the top line of the buccal view to posterior overlay, it helps establish the curve speed. The three triangles give us indications of where we want our cusp tips to be, and also how we want our marginal ridges, cusp marginal ridges, to be. We will now rotate, so we look from the occlusal, move the virtual model down to the second set of lines, so we can start evaluating the buccal lingual width, cusp tips, central groove, and buccal extent of the restoration. We will fine-tune our proposal with the tools available to us in the lower right-hand corner. In this case, you can see that we have to fine-tune the occlusion a little bit to smooth out the proposal. Form minus, a little smooth. Now we will check the contacts and adjust. Since it's an implant case, I want to make sure that I bring my contact down towards the gingiva, so we have a better chance of nice gingival profile. Once you're happy with the proposal, since this is a screw retained implant crown, I will create the screw access hole. I will go and in display options, do transparent proposal, use the drop minus tool, put the drop on top of where the screw is, and hit minus until I create the divot down to the abutment. You can also do this with the shape tool by drawing a circle around the top of the abutment and hitting shape minus. It'll create a cylinder. You can see it looks like it will create a cylinder all the way through, but in actuality it only goes about 90%. You'll have to finish with hand milling. It is a big help though, because the manufacturer recommends minimizing the amount of hand milling after the Emax comes out in the milling chamber. I like to check to make sure that my restoration fits in the block. In some implant cases, you're going to get a message saying restoration will not fit in the block, in which case you can use your position tools to make sure your margin mills out okay. Your occlusal might be a little short. You can build that up with add-on porcelain. I also like to check the fit of it with the virtual fit checker. In mill preview, hit trim, Control B, and you can see areas of binding.